Hello, friends. This is Adriano, and it is the 26th of April, 2022. Time for a weekly roundup. Let's go. We're going to start with, again, the lower end of the range here. We've got the DOGE to start with this week in honor of the DOGE Lord. Well, here we are. We got a wick on the weekly candle, even above the 20, above the Bollinger Band on this weekly price chart for Dogecoin against BTC. So we're looking at the range here for Dogecoin, and if you watch previous videos with Doge, there's a potential for accumulation at this level, which would be super bullish, considering it would be using these kinds of levels as ultimate support, even if it has to go down to here as a point of a big dump before a spring. Although there is, depending how long this accumulation has to take, if it is, I'm not saying that it is accumulation, but if it is accumulation, this may or may not be the low before an important spring, and then we stay at higher levels, or we might be getting the lowest low before spring in the future. We'll see what happens. Still narrow Bollinger Bands here, so the intention here, the expectation is potentially for the price to move up towards this end of the cloud, this type of resistance level, and yeah. But when? That's an interesting question. If we want to take time frame, we want to play time frame with Doge. We start looking at, let's say you got your highs here, 3rd of May, 2021. So coming up to a year in this downtrend. So let's say we downtrending till the bottom here, and we start ranging here. So a 1-to-1 relationship brings us to June of 2022. Yeah. And then the further out you get, the lower the cloud, and that really starts to come into this resistance level down here. And the 161.8 is November, and then you're into the turn of the year to 2023 for a 2-to-1, in the sense where this amount of down force is absorbed across, what is it, 1-to-1 amount of time, or 2-to-1. I think this type of range feels right in terms of cryptos, but if it is looking for a move to break above the Ichimoku cloud, then I would expect that it goes sooner, because when we take longer term trend lines, let's say we broke this one to the downside. So now we'll come here and say, all right, we've got this trend line here. If you keep going across, you start breaking it pretty soon, and that's a long trend line. This is a logarithmic scale. So we are talking about significant long, big trend lines here. So yeah, that means maybe 1-to-1 is decent range for an accumulation, and then you go higher, and maybe you do somehow get into a huge bull scenario, just like other alts. It's either that, or it's a longer term range, and maybe this range is just a redistribution at this level. You're making a lower high here currently than this high here. So then that means maybe you are actually going to just bleed out further and really down to these levels, not just as some sort of a spring, but more as a bleed out to this level. And that's against BTC, so we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, that's some time analysis and some price analysis. This long-term trend line, I mean, it's okay if it gets broken sideways, because it's only this first point and then this current low point here. So this is irrelevant. If it needs to go sideways more to create that, because already we've broken it here. If we were using this level, so it's already broken and then being retested to the underside as resistance. So that that's fine. So we're not worried about the trend line yet. It'll come. It's already, it's already irrelevant at this point until we find where is the next jump off point, really. So that's Dogecoin. but some play with trend lines as well. So I think we've gone through a lot of ideas, and I do think also if we take our retracement, we had said, yeah, maybe it needs to come to an 88.6 level on a dump for a spring, and that's your scenario, and we still range for some time. Let's see what happens. Doge BTC. Okay, currently we're looking for a range, maybe with a dump down before a spring to the upside. Otherwise, this is going to be the level, because narrowing Bollinger Bands does have its own significance. Narrowing Bollinger Bands does mean incoming volatility to one side or the other. So, but it can also last for a little bit of time. These are weekly bars, and July is only right here. All right, interesting stories. That's it for Dogecoin. Good luck out there. Okay, next we're going to take on NIR. We've looked at NIR, and based on the wick action here, top of the Bollinger Band, top of a huge run up, but making lower highs than previously and wicking last week. It's not a perfect tweezer candles, but I mean, it's close enough. And currently there's follow through, but you can never take a weekly candle in currently being formed. It's just not clear enough, but it's currently dumped towards the mid-range of the high-low range, in the local high-low range here. So yeah, top of the Bollinger Band. Next move is down towards this 20-week moving average and long-term uptrending channel, the lower end of it. Okay, so that's NIR, and that's it for now. There is always a possibility to push back up, but already it's starting to form a solid convincing argument. I mean, yes, you have this price level here and the mid level of that range, so whatever, but I don't see it pumping just yet anytime soon. You're also still into this negative momentum. Let it clean out a bit more, and I mean, towards a couple of more negative bars, one or two, whatever it's going to be. And just what kind of levels is that going to mean? Well, generally, you break down this, it's a longer term trend. You're likely to see at least this level, if not touching lower end of Bollinger Bands for some support, and then see where you go from there. Oops. Anyway, that's NIR, not on the bullish side yet, but let's see how this candle works this week. And you are at a support level. If it shows a strong support and changes its behavior, then that's another story. But last week's candle really is confirming the weakness across this level. And yeah, that's about it. Negative momentum still has some time to go. All right. Now we move into RUNE against BTC. So all of these charts against BTC, meaning it's not your dollar charts, but they do respect technical analysis. It's just that you got to be ruthless. You got to be ruthless, and that's we can all learn the lessons, the easy or hard ways, and to each their own. And Godspeed. But this level of resistance did prove, and yeah, it did go and touch the Ichimoku there, but it proved to be significant enough. Now you're getting some green candle last week and currently this week, but it's looks like selling pressure here. And you're still at the upper end of the Bollinger Bands. So the next move is towards this green line we have painted here, which coincides with this 20-week moving average. Yeah. That's the general sense we get for the RUNE, and then we'll see if it can stabilize here. Otherwise, you're looking at this next level here, and then lower down. I mean, we have it already in place down here, so that's why we'll just keep the big levels in place for now. All right, because that's about it. again, also has room to go into a bit of negative to momentum, just kind of flatten out. That doesn't mean the price has to come down here. That could just hang out over here. We'll see. We'll see how cascading. Now it is BTC price chart, and you see it goes up fast. It also comes down fast, a little slower. Up fast, down a little slower, right? And sometimes it'll fully retrace the move. But at this point, we're going to see you trying to make a higher low. You just broke out of this downtrending resistance after a strong move up and then a nice looking correction. So let's see if it'll go to some sort of push higher, but does it need to have its own correction first? And how long does that need to take? And if it does move high fast, then we wouldn't expect the correction to take that much time, but it could still take a few weeks, and it could even come down to this level before going higher. Now, the other option is, you're not in a move that's going up here. Instead, you're in a move that's going to keep you in this zone here and maybe be accumulatory, making, globally macro higher lows than previous price action, and then ready for the next time it goes higher. That's possible. We'll see what happens with all of these altcoin charts against Bitcoin. That's why I like looking at them as well, is because we get a flavor and a feeling for the mood, the atmosphere. We also can see across different markets, and it shares, is the general state of affairs, and also the specific where is the heat and where is the cold, and then where is everything just following a similarity. So there you go with RUNE. Maybe we're going to chop in this level here. We've got some chop, but if it breaks down, it goes down. Otherwise, maybe it'll chop. We add a bit of chop here, chop here, chop here. So who knows? Maybe it'll chop here. Be interesting to watch. Stick around for more. Watch for this to hold, though. You want this to hold if you want to stay a good sign of longer term bullishness. Okay. When I say this, I mean this downtrending resistance, or turns hopefully support. Okay. Done with RUNE, and we move on to Atom against BTC. Yeah, Atom last week finally broke down out of this long-term uptrend. Now, it's not perfect. It's broken out of it before down here. So it's relatively a matter of, like, it's a zone, and also it's a matter of preference, exactly how you want to be counting it. If we go to this right there, then technically we could argue here, we're just kind of go like that, and it touches there, and it touches there, and it touches there. And we've already been breaking out, and it already tried last week to save itself, but it could even barely do anything. So getting that resistance there. So anyway, we're broken down out of it. It's clear we are in this horizontal zone that we had previously carved out, and we are below the Ichimoku cloud. Below the Ichimoku cloud, we are in pretty decent negative momentum, but it can stand to go lower. Now the question will be, are you going to make some sort of bullish divergence where higher price and lower momentum? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be the case at this point. I mean, you could, you actually could, but wow. I mean, you're just breaking below the Ichimoku cloud. I guess it's anything is possible. Lower end of the Bollinger Band is here. So you could, you know what, arguing that doesn't really matter. You could make a case for some divergence. At this point, we'll see what happens when it comes to this line. We've got lower end of the Bollinger Band, clearly an important support resistance line, okay, over time. So let's see what happens when it gets here, but I do think it is trying to come here. The price is coming down here. And then it starts to look, in this sense, this looks to me a lot like MATIC. When we're going to look at MATIC, I see this action. So let's see if we can pay attention for that. That's it for Atom right now. Looking at this level here for the bounce of support. And then after that, who knows You know, there's so many options. Does it want to keep going higher? I mean, you just broke down your momentum. This is the importance of trend lines is momentum, energy momentum. So now we've broken down the momentum of that energy. So now it's going to balance in a different way. And it's going to balance more horizontally. So that's my sense of it. So it might even come up here and then, you know, find where is it's going to base. And it involves some more vertical moves down, if that's the sense. However, having said that, you know, you get a bounce here and then you move higher, then of course it's possible. Anyway, let's see what happens. Let's see as it plays out. It definitely could bounce here, and then this could be your support level. That would be nicely bullish, making higher lows. Okay, beautiful. Anyway, we'll see. Yeah, this is basically our key level, lower end of the Bollinger Band. Previous support, obviously, and historically decent level to look at. Okay. See what happens with Adam. Yeah. And just to remind, we've looked at this kind of idea as well. And I think at this point, for now, we can at least hide this. And this one, we'll hide it as well. Don't think it's coming into play. So yeah, I mean, we have considered the horizontal levels as well. I look back here and here, look for closing levels as well, because I'll take the closing lines, because that also helps to narrow down some of the noise. Yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah, anyway, like I said before, it doesn't really matter exactly where it is. It's a zone. I mean, it does matter because 1 pip difference is 1 pip difference, but generally it's hard to exactly say where something will go sometimes. Like, it's not, all of these are not exactly the same height, all of these supports, let's call it, but they're in a general zone. And then this is basically considerable as a deviation. And, you know, it confirms it more because, let's say, for example, we've got the closing of this bar here. You know, you can see that there's a little bit of support resistance type of stuff here, and you get this deviation. And same thing here, you get this closing action here. And you get this closing action up here. So it's kind of separated by this zone, this level. So, and this can be a deviation. Now, you could also argue that it's down here, and that coincides with this wick and this wick, and then everything below that is a deviation. So let's imagine we do that. And then, but sometimes it's more clear, sometimes it's less clear, and generally doesn't matter too much. The price, again, it does follow the technical analysis generally pretty well. You can't know, I mean, I can't say exactly where things will go, but they seem to go generally to that level or zone. And yeah, thank goodness for technical analysis. All right, take care out there. Currently, we're on our third higher low, but let's see if we break it by breaking down this structure and going towards the lower end here, which is my guess is that that could happen. Then again, and the only reason I say that really is because you're going to have then this Ichimoku cloud, which will act as potential resistance. But if you can get back above it, that would be really bullish. After bouncing off of this lower end of the Bollinger Band to go to the top, you know, because it does go lower end, top end, lower end, top end of Bollinger Band at times. You know, it comes down and back up, down and back up. So if that's the case, then you're above the cloud again. But the cloud does portend a lot of resistance, and it's previously been a support and then will be resistance again, and it was previously resistance many times before, even with deviations. So but this time you've got this Ichimoku cloud. So anyway, I'm just going into the future too much. We're watching it break down. Currently it broke down out of those uptrends. It's changing momentum. It's now back into a horizontal momentum. That's it. Adam. Oh wait, actually, we do. So there are times where I want to use different tools, and I do want to use price. relationships. And so we're currently at a 78.6. So anyway, let's see how far down we need to go. If we're pulling from the top though, you know, moves it back down to here are totally reasonable, and still be bullish, because then you're still on a higher low than the previous one. And so, yeah, that's not the worst thing in the world, and it's totally possible. And it would be very healthy if that's where you find your support and eventually find your way through, and you'll have the changing Ichimoku cloud along the way, and then you interact with it again when it's time. We'll see. Pretty cool. All right. Let's go to Luna against BTC. So, whoops. Luna against BTC, still also in its is relatively negative momentum, but it's still at the high end. You know, you could use some negative momentum here in this chart. So either we're going to some sort of horizontal stage, and then you can be at the top, up above the Ichimoku cloud that's starting to form here, or like many before, and you know, and you're also at the level of the lower end of the Bollinger Band. So maybe you're just going top end of the Bollinger Band to lower end of the Bollinger Band, and you're not falling below and creating big volatility. That's one option. But I do think the topping is in. I don't think this momentum line here of this whole pattern here, I don't think that's going to hold. And having said that, the reason why I don't really think that it's going to be as horizontal, although these are big price moves from top to bottom, but again, this is crypto. So what I'm saying is that this is a long momentum here, and I know it's not perfectly straight. You're already starting to break down if you try and go perfectly straight from the lower end, but it's considered diametric. And if that's the case, then this whole pattern has some time to shift. And I don't know where you want to say that it's over, and we won't necessarily know just yet, but let's just call it from there. We're looking 1-to-1 and is going into April. So best case scenario is you have some sort of long Binance-like accumulation period where it just ranges and it maybe even goes down here, but it's quickly bought back up to stay above the cloud. Or I don't know how the cloud will continue forming here, but we'll see. It's either that, and then this is a significant turn down, I guess you might say. That would be a 50%, but that's in absolute terms, and I'm not usually doing absolute terms. I do relative terms. And relative terms, yes, that would be 100% of this current move from down here. But if we take this move, that would just be 50% of that move. And I mean, who are we kidding? We're not coming from there. We're taking the whole macro move and we're saying bang from here. And at that point, like, you're not even making 38.2% until you get down to this cluster of price right here. So, and of course, as soon as you break down this price, it's boom, straight down to this cluster, because this is such an important support. Yeah, we're going to see at this point. And then you're in this below the Ichimoku cloud type of territory as you keep going forward in time. Even if you stay at this level of 38, but then boom, you're underneath the cloud. So 1-to-1 of this price move up is all the way over here in April of 2023. If you're going to have the power to go sideways like that, like it's like gravity, you know, you throw something up. I mean, yeah, sure, you get enough strength to get it up here, but how long can it stay like that? And then can it build more momentum to get up? I mean, I know it's not a perfect analogy with the physics of gravity in the sense of throwing a ball on Earth, but the general sense is like you get a momentum, and then where is it going to, you know, the ball doesn't always have to come down in price charts, price action. It can make higher lows and higher highs. But then again, when you have something to move like this big, this far, it's going to take either time or price okay, and or price to absorb this momentum. You know, this started with me talking about momentum, and I hope I haven't gone off on too much of a tangent, but start breaking this momentum so that it becomes more horizontal, and because of the height of this, it becomes more dangerously vertical as well, back to the other direction. So yeah, that's the only thing. I mean, can you pull off a Binance chart and make a nice long sideways and then keep going higher? Totally possible. Totally possible. I don't know what is happening with any particular crypto network effect and adoption. But if history shows us anything, like we'll even look at the Ethereum chart. Stay tuned for the part 2. I think it's coming in part 2. But anyway, this is Luna right now. Let's find out what kind of action we get over the coming weeks. Okay, stick around for more. Yeah, momentum can easily go down to the negative side. Let's find out. So yeah, Ethereum come part 2. Okay, so we'll check Ethereum part 2. But maybe we'll jump to it in part 1 just for fun. Binance as well. You know, I mentioned BNB. But let's talk about MATIC, because we also mentioned MATIC. And this, if you remember, was the price structure I was talking about. And nicely enough for MATIC, it is losing that negative momentum and is flattening out. And we can see that in the MACD histogram. Having said that, there could be more time to go overall, but that doesn't mean it can't have a bump up first and then a push down. Now, having said that, the bias here is a little bit to the downside here, at least this halfway level, but more likely down towards this stuff here. But maybe not. Maybe it will catch its support here, pop over this cloud, and find a way higher again, like with this momentum moving towards a positive momentum. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be breaking all-time highs, but that's still relatively bullish. Look how much of a higher low it would be than the previous low. So that is amazing. However, and how much low? Well, we'll say it would be, oops, that's not what we want. We want this one. It would be a 61%. That'd be super bullish if you're getting your bounce there and staying above that. But having said that, you know, we're looking at overall, it could still come down to here and still be at 61% of this whole big move. But as you start coming down here, then you're really in danger of coming down to an 88% retracement down here. So you want to stick to a more of a local momentum here and hope that this is just the next beginning of something bigger, where you've had your move up and then correction, and now you're in the next move of something bigger, you know. Okay, but the problem being that I'm seeing is that you're already breaking down your trend. So in my opinion, then that would mean actually, and that would actually still be quite bullish, so you're still, let's say it keeps going here, and this is where it turns around and goes higher. Then, you know, like, and it's like chopping here, and then boom, you get something, okay? And you go something significantly higher, breaking your all-time highs, and, you know, you're gone. And then you would have had, this is your move up, this is your correction sideways, and then you get your next move up, and that's totally fine too. So for now, we have broken down this trend line, but that's not a bad thing on the macro scale. It could just mean that this current correction that we're in is just bigger and longer, and we'll get to the next move. Now, that's all predicated on the idea that it will be going higher. Otherwise, you've made your move higher, and now you are dumping and it's not going to be pretty. So I don't know. I think there's strength in this waning momentum here, this kind of slowing down of the price towards the downside. So let's watch what happens. Actually feeling good for this price chart. It's got some potential here, but it'll really depend what happens in the coming weeks and how the price responds. Like, I think staying around this Ichimoku cloud and interacting here is the best case scenario. Let's see what happens, okay? Because we're totally willing to move this line in accordance and still be in a bullish scenario. All right. Once you start coming towards this lower end of the box, so yeah, even if you start interacting with this midway point of this zone, then you're starting to really ask questions here. Okay, that's MATIC. Good stuff, MATIC. Let's take a look at Avalanche. What is going on, Avalanche? Ooh, Avalanche. Okay, so it's true. There might be some negative price action for you. Ooh, I sure hope not. However, that's only because I'm trying to be nice to everybody. Generally speaking, this could be bullish. You know, you hold your support zone here, okay? And then you make it higher. And then your next level is you want to break out of this. Okay, great. However, from the top of the Bollinger Band, support along the 20-week moving average to the, support along that, deviation down, but it turns out to be a deviation back above the 20-week moving average. Basically, resistance levels that it previously had, lower highs than the previous highs. And now it's back below the 20-week moving average with conviction. Let's see. Now, what it has going for it is this support level here. So let's see how this plays again, but you are in a dangerous zone. Question is, are you going to wick down to the lower end of the Bollinger Band? And if so, are you going to be closing below this level? Because I'm not saying it's the level. Again, it's a zone generally, but at this point, based on this candle closing, we've made this zone. And if it stays above there, cool. If it's closing below there, then you're in danger territory because you're also at the lower end of the Bollinger Band and it's relatively flat and basically asking for volatility at this level here. Volatility to the downside, you're asking for it. And that's the lower end of this channel. So on a long-term scale, that could be what's happening here, but then you're really asking for some scary price action because then you're talking like big shoulder, head, and shoulder potential here. So that's scary. But again, this is against Bitcoin, and this thing is only a little bit years old. However, it is relatively bullish, has been relatively bullish in terms of this price action overall. But now recently, from the top end of the channel, we're not surprised that it's been weak, to say the least, and now potentially eventually breaking down below this horizontal level. Cool. Let's keep watching it. The only thing it's got going for us is right now is this zone where the horizontal level and the lower end of the Bollinger Band is giving support. Otherwise, it's a breakdown. Now, in terms of momentum, yeah, it has some time that it could offer, unless it's going to be bullish, like we had said previously, then could get ugly against BTC. We'll see. And maybe that's going to be a theme for everything against BTC. It's just going to destroy. You know how it has its turns to destroy, and maybe that's coming. And this is setting up that information for us on price action. Price action gives us potential, the possibilities of what's to come. Okay. and likelihoods as well. Oh, wait, let's go back and do some time analysis. Sorry, sometimes I jump out too fast. Let's do some time analysis here. If we're going bottom, this was a big enough retracement. So I'm just going to go from here, bottom to top. And 1-to-1 brings us to December of 2022. And then you start getting a more reasonable correction length time. And we're talking like November of 2023 for double that time. So interesting. That's what can happen. We'll see though. This is new. This is an interesting time in crypto as well, because we're going to see, does this follow the trend of a lot of other coins that they have their big move up and they dump back down? I mean, the difference between this one is it took its time to get up there, so more controlled. And so that's the other question, is like, maybe there's a different money game happening now in the markets as well. So we'll see though, maybe not, maybe things are going to be very similar. I'm so excited to find out. Okay, so that's time analysis, and then price analysis we'll take from this recent move. So we're looking for 50% is here. Oh, this zone here of price is possible, really possible, really possible. And that's previous resistance here. So, I mean, yeah, totally possible. And it would still be bullish, nice bump off that 88.6. Now, bullish maybe locally, but this could, who knows what kind of top this is currently. Is that going to be a forever top? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say. That's it. That's all I'm done with for now. Okay. Let's move on to Solana. Some alts against Bitcoin have made their forever top. I'm not saying this is it for Solana or that it was it for Avalanche or anything else. That's why I'm wondering. I'm wondering, is this going to be a new format for crypto price charts? Or when we look at, yeah, because like even when we look at Monero and all that, it comes from a time when the price action to the upside was so volatile, and then it tumbles in a different way. This price action, it's just been different than previous price actions. So let's see. I mean, Solana is in a good place momentum-wise overall, but it's not fully cleared in terms of its overall energy momentum. It's going to take some time. But does that mean it's going to get to go sideways like we talked about with a couple of the other charts? Can it get some of that BNB sideways price action? That would be pretty cool. Currently, it's being resisted by this force right here, this momentum force, which had a bit of deviation above, but it's clearly a line of interest. A momentum line. Yeah, so let's see. We're playing around that Ichimoku cloud formation here, okay? And lower end of this box we've carved out based on previous price action. So that's pretty cool. I'm really excited to see how this holds up. Let's do a bit of time analysis here. Let's take from our lower price to our higher price. And yeah, you're coming to a 1-to-1. So like of all of them, this one is looking pretty decent in terms of time. And but I mean, it has retraced so little from its original move. That is super bullish. If it doesn't come down to this level, to this zone, it's interesting, we've already boxed out this zone because of previous price action, but even a bounce at this zone would be a 38.2 or a 50% retracement at the lower end of this box zone. That would be even a good, strong retracement for in terms of crypto against Bitcoin to go higher and make new all-time highs. That would be a massively strong move. Then we're talking a good potential for at least, I mean, 1-to-1 is being super, conservative. We're talking more like 161.8 at that point. If you're only retracing 38.2%, even 50%, I mean, okay, go for a 1-to-1. I mean, that's a massive move. But anyway, so that's the only thing. is what's very clear right now is a series of lower highs. Okay, lower high here compared to previous, and then lower high here compared to this previous cluster. So right now there is some downward momentum and prices in this kind of channeling downwardness. So let's see what happens. Ooh. Overall, these price charts look like they need to come down here to correct, at least, at minimum, and if not, go even further down. But I mean, I can understand stopping at this box and then finding your support for some of these that are going to be stronger longer term, if that's the case. Anyway, okay, there's your macro view of Solana against BTC for now. Good luck out there. Speaking of, let's go to Phantom FTM, which is now, if you've been watching, we watched it find support here and then dump back down below, and now we confirmed resistance type of thing with this selling pressure on this candle. And this week we'll see. I mean, this could be the lower end, and hey, it could pop back over, and this could all be a deviation below this horizontal line, and then you're at this Ichimoku cloud level. But the danger now is that the price falls through, in which case then you're probably looking at this level. But even if it doesn't go there and it somehow comes back up, then it'll probably go down. I mean, I don't see the price going under and then going all the way up here. That just does not make sense. So yeah, this is the price level that I'm looking at for Phantom. And you know, if it's coming down here, I don't know if this is going to provide the support. You might hope so. Otherwise, you're coming down here and most likely down here. Okay. But hey, that might even do one of those. Okay. So the way it would come up here is to go further down first towards this type of level, then it could bounce up. And that's what would be bullish. That would be bullish overall, rather than first going down here only to bounce up, you know, here or here. Okay, I don't know, whatever. We'll see. I mean, for me, the difference, so this is why, again, I'm loving looking at these different charts, because some of them, the price action is similar and some of them it's different. Look at this blow off right here compared to the previous price actions where it was the high and then you had this long sideways and then some down, but you had this nice high level of horizontal support. Whereas this one, it made its high, breaking the previous high, and then boom, dump. And I know fundamental and all this kind of news and stuff, but this is what the price action did. So clearly it's much weaker than the other ones. It had this blow off and look at this hard decline, similar to Cardano in that sense when we look at Cardano. So stick around for part 2. We're not going to look at them all today. Yeah, I think we'll look at BNB and Ethereum next time as well. But yeah, this is Phantom right now, and I think I've given you my general thoughts. Yeah, I like this move right here. Something like that. I mean, this probably just means like that, really, but I don't know. We'll see. Time-wise, let's do a bit of analysis. First, I just want to make sure with the price that this is a reasonable level to use. The price goes down from here. Yeah, you don't even get to the 78.6. I think it's fair to use this all. Okay, so we're going to come from down here. We're going to start about here and go to the top and say 1-to-1. You're talking here in the beginning of the 2023, and then 2-to-1 is the end of 2023, beginning of 2024. So that could be the case, and this could be the all-time top for Phantom, or something else happens. All right, very interesting with the time analysis. And then if we take price analysis from the current move of the lows, I mean, 78.6 would still be reasonable and be bullish if this becomes your new higher low. That would be great. That would be long-term bullish for Phantom. Otherwise, let's see what else we got here from the lows that we counted with time. You're currently at a 61.8, and most bullish case scenario is bounce here, bounce hard, and then find some support here and keep bouncing, obviously, but that's less likely in my humble opinion. Yeah, this 88.6 move seems better when you look at it from this type of price action here. So we'll see. That's all the way down in this cluster right here. But macro, that would be bullish. That would be bullish for future price action. All right, that's it. Put that done. And I think we're going to end today with DOT. DOT, yeah, getting rejected at that channeling level here. Below the 20-week moving average. The bonus is that you're finding support at this level, this zone of previous support and resistance. Time-wise, it's doing very well if you look at from low to high in price. You're nearly at 1-to-1, similar with Solana. So maybe DOT and Solana gonna do something sooner than others. You know, if we think about the timing of things. I mean, that's a 78.6, so you can't discount that in crypto as like a good retrace. Yeah, I think DOT is being somehow the energy around DOT is becoming more favorable. I think feels sometimes like the schoolyard where friends are easily won and lost sometimes, and friendliness and being in people's camp can change on whims sometimes. Not whims, but you know, like just with the winds. So if we start from this low to this high, we're already past 1-to-1, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty decent, I would say, in terms of time. And now you're making lower, you know, like, sorry, higher lows at this level. You're stabilizing. So you're making higher lows here than you did here. And also in this little, well, this cluster we can't talk about. I mean, we can't talk about what's currently happening because the next one or even this candle could just dump and make lower lows or come and combat these ones. And then we're really in a trend down for sure, rather than the other option is you break above this downtrending resistance line. And yeah, you might still go down further, but if you hang around this level here as your support, then that's much more bullish over time. So we'll see how it works for DOT. The other consideration here is actually, let's take a look at this time analysis. So I like the time analysis from down here, not from down here. I just feel like this up and down is they're together here. They don't necessarily play in with this whole move from down here to up here. However, you know, when it comes to time analysis, using the low of the low to the high of the high is very helpful. So in that case, I am okay with this time analysis actually, and it's looking good. But let's see, key dates here. Yeah, August of 2022 and November of 2022. So let's see what happens for DOT in the coming months for sure. The other time analysis I wanted to do was from here to here. Yeah, different enough. So then let's take it from here and go to here. And yeah, I mean, you could be ending around here and we pop over and start flirting with the next move. Then again, you might need more time, right? Okay, cool. Let's see what happens with DOT in these next coming weeks. And yeah, like even the momentum looks like it totally crossed, you know, especially even with Solana, I didn't necessarily have this clean of a momentum. Like you're definitely looking for some cross anytime now. And you're on bullish convergence with the price and the momentum. You're in a bullish convergence currently. Okay. Oh, maybe you're even having a bit of divergence here. Hidden. Yeah. Yep, some hidden bullish divergence here with this. But I mean, that could only mean that you're getting a little pop like this. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to turn around everyone's life with a little bit of hidden bullish divergence at this level. So of the RSI. So yeah, but overall the momentum is looking decent. Holding this zone overall would be great. So even if it dumps down below this kind of trending momentum, that's okay. And then you get into this zone here. If you can hold your support here, you're bound to get some sort of pops generally anytime soon. And you just work with that as your ability to hold support at this level, and then you can go higher. That is huge. That's huge. So we'll see. Let's good luck out there for all you DOT holders, and of course all you DOT traders on both sides. I'm trying to be impartial. Okay, but none of this is financial advice, and I am done with these price chart discussions for today. So I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you around part 2. Come around for part 2. We'll talk about XMR, Monero, okay, Ethereum, XRP, and more, all the way to BTC. All right, I'm wishing you love, peace, and happiness. Goodbye.